3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Dudecast, everybody. I just cut all that out, all that nonsense. Here we are. We are the Abiding Dudes. My name is Adam. With me is Cal and Skits. And joining us, our extra special guest this week. And I say extra special because I've been chasing this motherfucker around for a month. More on that in a minute. Is Caleb, coming to us from the great nation of Canada. Say what up, Caleb.
How's it going? Howdy. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, my brother. And no, this is great. I actually, so by way of explanation to Cal and Skits, I haven't really told him this, but Caleb was probably the only guest that we've had on this podcast that I chased down and almost strong-armed into doing this. He said yes, but it took me asking every week for a couple months. But it's because, I'll tell you this, it's entirely because this is a dude that stands out on Dudeist Facebook groups with just some of the most interesting takes I've ever heard. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, tickle your balls or toot your horn here or anything, Caleb, but I'd love to just, I just wanted to like get you on here so I could like learn more about like, where is this dude coming from? So like, why don't we just start from the damn top? Like, what's your story, dude? How did you get into Dudeism? You know, what were you doing before all that? And tell us the whole story.
Okay. Well, now I'm trying to think of the first time I saw the movie. I don't even know. Like, it was later. I was definitely at least in my mid-20s or so. I'm only in my late 20s now, I should say. But I didn't grow up with the movie or anything. You know, I found it later, and probably when it came to Netflix, whenever the heck that would have been. And immediately, you know, you can tell, even if you haven't heard the reputation about a film, that it's a cult classic just by the vibe, you know, and a big fan of Jeff Bridges. And, you know, I feel like everyone's a fan of John Goodman, even if they say otherwise. Like, he's just permeated our culture, it seems, you know. And who doesn't love Demi, right? So I was like, this is pretty cool. And I like movies in the comedy side where it's so quotable, you know, there's just so many one-liners out of that movie. So it immediately stood out as a good one. Yeah, I didn't get into the Dudeism until much later. Probably, well, I have my card. Let's see what, when I got here. So I never forget. I was ordained in March of 21, so not too long, but pre-pandemic.
Wow, okay. Yeah.
I've been a highway trucker for all my life, and all my adult life, I guess I should say, and heavy equipment operator and stuff like that. So doing that work in the Canadian prairies takes you deep into the bush and into the north to spend a lot of time. So my professional life has kind of been inherently inwardly contemplative and allows for a lot of meditative stuff before you even realize it sometimes. So it kind of just naturally that way. And you know, I really like things that are dualistic in that they're, I don't know how to say it, but I'm talking about Dudeism now. Like, when I first found the website and I was reading about it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not a joke, but it's not serious, but it's both fully, you know. And I like things like that because it really drives home what's true about everything in life, which is that it's what you make of it. And so I like, you know, having this card in this ordination, and people are like, well, that's not real. I'm like, well, you're right. Or they're like, oh, so is that real? Well, yeah, you're right. So it's whatever you want it to be. And Dudeism as a community, as an ethos, really puts that front and center. So that's what drew me into wanting to be ordained, you know.
Yeah, that's so interesting though that you say that, because like, you know, you think about like, I was just thinking of like a sitcom, you know, on TV, like a comedy of the laugh track, you know, and a lot of times in movies, things are like way over the top, but it's like, it's funny how like ordinary the setting of the Big Lebowski is, you know, it's all in just shitty apartments and beat down cars and bowling alleys, you know, that's the whole thing. And yet it has some stuff that's so funny to the audience while the characters in the movie are all taking everything so damn seriously, you know, like they're going to kill that poor woman, you know, just like everything is a fucking travesty, you know? But yeah, that's really interesting because it is totally true about Dudeism. Like, and that's what's interesting to me because, like, you know, I'll just let you in on this. Skits and I, probably two of the most different people when it comes to religion, right?
Okay.
And Cal too. We kind of run the gamut. Like I'm definitely like, you know, I live in a spiritual community. I'll put it that way. Like
Oh,
I meditate every day, you know, believe in God and all that. Cal, you know, more agnostic, Skits more atheistic. But what we can all agree on is that like there's such a real truth, you know, to Dude. There's such like a thread of
yeah.
truth to Dudeism that just is worth, you know, doing. But what I was going to ask you too is like you mentioned like some other like spiritual traditions or religious traditions or something. I feel like in one of the groups, did you grow up religious or did you study like different, you know, things? Like
Yeah.
what's your
Um,
background?
I come from a Mennonite family, uh, which
Damn.
is tricky to explain briefly to people who might have no frame of reference. But basically, it's a form of Christianity. It's a type, right? That it was very communal and not closed, but somewhat historically self-ostracized, like living away from the cities in their own communities of all
Right.
Mennonite people, right? And so we moved to Canada in two waves in the 1870s and 90s, and same thing, have kind of built a lot of the towns around this area in that same fashion. So there's a spiritual aspect. Like I grew up in the church, but what that brings to mind for most people is a very different thing than the sort of church I grew up in, right? It's very stripped down, it's very less dogmatic and more like just back to the teachings of Christ and not all the other nonsense, right? So how
Yeah.
can I swear? How clean do we have to be here?
Yes.
Okay.
Please swear all you like.
Okay, good to know. uh, and all that other bullshit, right? So but in the early pandemic days, and actually in the early Dudeism days for me, then that would mean there was a real push in Western Canada, especially in British Columbia, which is our far western coastal province, right, against the Catholic Church. And so the Mennonite faith is very anti-Catholic. It's inherently Protestant, and so there was a real fire lit under my ass in that time to like really start studying it more seriously, to intentionally remove those Catholic and Orthodox, I would say, manipulations and influences, right?
Yeah.
Because even growing up in a Protestant, kind of somewhat closed Christian background, I could see the influences like everywhere that Catholicism has put in Christianity. I should say that to me, I'm passionately anti-Catholic. Not anti-Catholics. I love the people. I just hate what they're involved with, right?
Right,
So
right.
a lot of my beliefs when I talk about Christianity are like passionately anti-Catholic. And so yeah, I started looking more into older and the traditions of this stuff, right? Which you really can't do very long at all without getting into ancient Judaism, because that's where that entire form of faith comes to us out of, right? Whether you want to
Right.
see it as Jesus finished that and started the new thing, or not, he still came literally directly out of it, right? So that got me looking into, well, okay, what are the more mystical Jewish sides of things, and that's a deep, rich history that is a
Oh
lifetime of
yeah.
study still doesn't take you all the way into,
Yeah.
mainly Kabbalah or Kabbalah, however you want to say it. So that's
Yeah.
when I started really getting more mystical from that side. But I'm also a guy who likes to have as much different perspectives on a thing as possible. You know, if I think you're dead wrong and stupid, I still want to understand fully what you're thinking. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to take, so that, you know, I started getting into a lot of Rosicrucian stuff, which is really just occult Christianity
Yeah.
taken to the extreme. I've I I've been a part of a Hermetic mystery school that takes place online, but is based out of Vancouver in British Columbia. And
Wait a second. You're not talking about spirit science, are you?
no,
Oh,
no,
okay. Sorry.
it's
I, I
more
thought they were in
Hermetic
Canada.
specifically. I
Okay.
mean, maybe, I don't
Nice.
know, but he's got the teacher, the guy who runs that school and class has a background in the Golden Dawn and shares a lot of that tradition with us, and I find that fascinating. So I don't have a background in Golden
Nice.
Dawn, but I have a pretty clear exposure to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's been cool. So I study kind of all branches of the occult and the esoteric and the mystical. I have quite a number of mystical experiences of my own. Now, the other side of this, while this is all going on, my fiance is indigenous, and when we were just starting to go together, I was actually adopted by her stepfather, who is like a traditional knowledge keeper and does the stuff, right? So I spent a number of
Wow.
years one-on-one with him learning Native American sort of ceremony and spirituality. And so
Whoa.
I found, given my Mennonite Christianity background and what I learned about that, that these are actually not at odds at all, and they harmonize perfectly well with one another,
Yeah.
which is a controversial thing to say, and a lot of people would disagree with me, and they'd be
Well,
right.
but no, see, okay, from the way I see it, though, you're just a truth seeker, and it's like you can
Yeah,
see the truth inherent in each one. Whereas a
yeah,
lot of people focus on a lot of the details, the outer
yeah,
details. And I feel like that's, going back to Catholicism, definitely where, of course they went wrong
yeah,
more on anyway. Not going to open that can of worms, but dude, that's fascinating. Sorry. I think Skits had something to say.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a comment and then I have a question just to spice things up a little bit. My comment is the Canadian Mennonites are a lot weirder than the ones down here. I've got fucking
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 communities just, 30 minutes away, and all they want to do is sell you weed and lumber.
Really
Lots of fucking lumber.
interesting.
Yeah, they're all right, man. They know how to party. Um, my question is, and we're going to deviate from whatever it was you were blathering about.
Nice.
No offense. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Think of the last time that you watched the movie. All right, you got it in your head. You don't have to remember when. Just remember what was your favorite scene the last time you watched the movie. For those of us that have seen it a million times, our scene changes every time we watch. What was your favorite and why?
The first one that comes front and center, I don't know if that's to say favorite, but what that brings to mind for me is the standoff with the nihilist. I don't even know why. I wouldn't have said that if I thought about it, but when you ask that, that's what comes up is the big showdown there where yeah. So I'd
the
say
flaming car, car in the background has to be one of the most dramatic scenes of any movie ever. It's just like, oh my god!
Because for a split second, they look badass, and then they start talking and moving again. It's like Seth Green character in Idle Hands. There's that moment where they come back to life, and for half a second, Seth Green looks like a bad motherfucker. And then he becomes Seth Green again. And
no, and then Walter just chops him down instantly. Like,
yeah,
no, that might be one of my favorite. I think that's one of the most underrated lines in the movie. I never find a way to use it in like normal life, but just no, Donnie, these men are nihilists. There's nothing to be afraid of. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
well,
man.
and he's deaf in that scene too, or maybe not immediately, but his heart attack or whatever, like that's hilarious too, because they're like, oh shit, did he get shot? Wait, no one shot anything. And everyone's like,
there were no shots fired. It's a heart attack.
Yeah, that's clever.
And for it to be Donnie and not Walter.
Yeah.
Well, that was when I realized that I truly believed Walter was in Vietnam, because it almost like that violence like calmed him.
Was he?
Like he knew how to react. He's like, we got help choppering in, buddy. Because like before then, it's like you never know. But
is it canon that he was? I've never been clear on that.
That's the debate.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think the Coen brothers ever conclusively said it, but I also think that if he were an imposter, like they probably would have found some way to expose that. You know, so I think if it wasn't exposed, we have to take him at his word. And I don't know. And I think like when you've been through violent things, like you have violent tendencies, I think the bowling alley scene makes sense. And then the, you know, parking lot scene makes sense. I don't know. And then how the dude is still like affected by it, you know, after that. And he's like telling Walter, like, you can't fucking do that, man. You know, these guys are
That's
pacifists.
true. No, he does say that. That's a good point.
And then Walter's just like, whoop, it's all water under the bridge, you know, like
Yeah.
before the cops even show up. Like he's just like, well, because he can compartmentalize that. I don't know. It seems a silly debate to me, but people love a good conspiracy theory.
Well, and good filmmakers will never clarify it. That's the good storytellers. That's the point, is that it's either way.
Right.
I don't know.
You
I like
reckon-
I like the Tarantino approach where he's like, yeah, it's all the same universe. Don't fucking worry about it. Yeah, some of the movies have magic, some fucking don't.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good
So,
shit.
all right. So, Caleb, I got to ask you this. So, when it comes to Dudeism,
Yeah.
do you have anything that you think like Dudeism is off base? You know, like a little too much of this, not enough of that, needs some of this. Like when you think about comparing it to like not even just religions, but like mystical traditions where people are really seeking themselves, what's true. What are your thoughts?
I think I've felt like it leans a little too heavily into the Buddhism Taoism thing. Like it made a fair connection in the founders who put it together. I'm not familiar with them or anything before when I originally read on the website, right? But that's a fair connection to establish. But then once that was made, it was like that's all there is in terms of what we relate it to of other pre-existing systems, right? And
Oh man,
sure, the dude does some Tai Chi, but how seriously he's taken it is, I guess, up for debate as well, which translates to Dudeism great. But I think it has more potential to carve its own path and instead just falls back on the first connection it made to Taoism or Buddhism, you know, that sort of flavor of Eastern stuff, right?
yeah.
That's what I think. What about you?
Wow, dude, that's just so affirming for the book I wrote. So
Okay.
you like, do you know about that? Like,
No.
is that how we were friends on Facebook? Okay. So I wrote a book called The Dude's Guide to Life precisely because I exactly agree with what you just said. That
Okay.
like they don't just need to stick to one tradition and there's more connections to be made in terms of other traditions. And so that's kind of what I did. I made connections to the tradition that I got brought up in, which is kind of Hinduism. It's kind of like Hinduism, original Christianity. Like, you know, I
Cool.
think you know what I'm talking about, but
Cool.
yeah. And it, you know, it was a really interesting thought exercise too of like, you know, I would love to see Skits write the what was it, Church of Satan, is that Church of Satanism or whatever it is, like, you know, I'm sure there's connections to that as well.
So many better ones, but you guys are doing too much.
No,
You guys
we're
are
doing
like
too much, so
way
you
too
guys
much. Caleb's
consider
problem with it is there's not enough going on with it. He's like, look, man, these fucking religions are too fucking lazy. All right, like you guys are doing too much, man. The toe, the theory of everything's connected, man. It's all strikes and gutters. It's not gonna. You guys are just doing too much. All right.
Well, see, now it's already done, and I just have 22 copies sitting in my house that I gotta tell people they definitely want.
Well, you're in
Because it's a rad
California,
book.
man. Just stand by somebody selling oranges.
Dude, that's what I'm trying to get out. I'm thinking we'll do a bowling alley party one of these days.
Hey, yeah.
So Northern California, come on down, Grass Valley.
And
all right,
I'm gonna make a hot take right out the gate here.
Let's do
there
it.
you go.
You're gonna look at Dudeism as like what the general consensus of, like, you know, the people who would identify that way is, and you're going to apply that to the film. Jeff Bridges' character is probably the worst example of it. Like, the dude is the least dude character for the events of the film that we are able to share with them, right? Like, it seems inarguable that the dude has lived a life to that point that has earned him such a reputation quite heavily, right? But for that few days of turmoil that we see, he's not taking it easy. He's freaking out. He's reacting harshly a lot of the times. He's not being very chill about a lot of his action.
That's the lesson of the movie, though.
Yeah.
Is you can be very, very dude, but there are going to be times where you become undude and people pull you out of your element.
Yeah. Right.
See, you guys are doing too much.
People are like, "Oh, I see a lot on the Facebook groups like, "Oh, my Walter's coming out lately." I'm like, "Well, that's what the dude did the whole time. So is it really?"
Yeah, because of fucking
If you're looking
Walter.
at,
Because of fucking Walter. He's a bad influence on my dude.
that's to be said.
And that's kind of the thing. It's like the rug is actually a metaphor for his state of dude. All he wants is his rug back. Everything else is just interference with getting back to his state of dude.
That's a good point. Wow, man. I like that. That's a good point.
Oh, that was damn, Cal. How have we never made that before?
And that's why in all the later DVDs, that's what's in his glasses. Not just because it's the symbol, because it's what he's got in his sights. Nice.
Yep. Oh my,
that's good.
Cal, I could have made a damn chapter out of that. All right, that's the first
Volume
chapter
2.
going in volume 2. All the dude ever wanted was his rug back.
Hold on, I might write my own book, so don't steal my ideas.
Get on it, motherfucker. Oh man.
See, but here's the thing, and the best thing about Dudeism is, like, there is no basic. You have what is on the website, which is fucking minimal, if really anything. There's a couple books that you can buy.
We gotta dig deep.
Yeah, there's a couple books you can buy, but they're kind of focused more on quoting the fucking movie than they are actually explaining any kind of fucking Dudeism whatsoever. So a lot of people, we are a very good example of taking different things. Cal is probably one of the most dude people I know. We have Dudo Christian, Adam, the Dudenite, the Minorino. I don't. I'm not good at the whole brevity thing.
Minorino.
You know what I mean? And I try to live a Raoul Duke lifestyle via dude. It's tricky.
Many drugs are involved. Much limber of the mind.
Damn, I had my fucking t-shirts a little bit ago too.
Yeah, but lost my train of thought. What do you say, Cal?
Say what? What?
What do you say?
I mean, I get what Caleb's saying about maybe it draws too much off the connection to Taoism, but I don't think it's really escapable that Dudeism is like a direct descendant of Taoism.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't require belief in a supernatural boogeyman or whatever the hell. So I think, maybe there's too much reliance on it, but it's necessary. It's like you can't have Christianity without Judaism. You can't really have Dudeism without Taoism to draw from.
Right, and that's why I say it's a fair connection they made.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's true.
To me, the biggest thing is that with the online Dudeist community, you see so much emphasis placed on the drug regimen. And, I drink alcohol, I smoke weed occasionally, but it's not necessary for everybody to hit their state of dude. Skits is completely proving me wrong here, but, you can, I think a lot of people could reach a state of dudeness and peace without the drug regimen.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I think there's a large percentage of the community that doesn't even bother trying to look for that.
Yeah.
I'm a Waltarian if I don't. All right, that's it's flip floppy on the religion for me.
Yeah.
Kind of like being an Indianapolis Colts fan. You know what I mean? You're only a fan in the off season.
Yeah.
Man,
Well,
rough.
one bigger post that I've made in the groups for years now, and that I've stood by in more brief wording sense, is that there's really two approaches to Dudeism. There's that as the costume, where you're just trying to be Jeff Bridges in this film, and then there's the ones who take it into like, yeah, this is actually like me, and I want to, explore why the dude is the dude, but as the application being me, not just mirroring a character. Because, this is what I've said quite passionately. The last thing that the dude would ever do is wear a sweater a character he liked is wearing. No offense, Adam. I get both
I have one
sides of
too.
this, and it's important to blend them.
I do too.
But you know what I mean? The last
Agreed.
thing the dude would do is drink a drink his idol would drink for that reason. Like the dude's not smoking joints because some character he idolizes does it. It's because that's what is his ticket, right?
And
So
now,
yeah, I tell people all the time, it's not about the rug, it's not about bowling, White Russians or joints or roach clips. It's it's your favorite sweater and your pastime and your substances or not, so that's my core argument that I represent online.
but everything's a
Yeah,
path.
absolutely.
Everything is a path. Did I need the Pendleton? No, but it looked fucking awesome. And since getting
Hell
it,
yeah.
I now know that I love knitted fucking sweaters. All right, you want something
There you
comfy and warm? Get yourself a knitted fucking sweater. I grew up in Southern Nevada. I live in the fucking asshole of the fucking Midwest now, where there's plenty of snow all the fucking time. Knitted sweaters.
Yeah, exactly. It's practical for the dude.
Yeah. Well, no, and I'm right there with you, and that's what I was, I talked a lot about in the book is like, what is dude nature? Like, if we're talking about, because I realize and I think to go back to your point about Taoism, I think that was a perfect starting point, because like the dude does go with the flow, and the only time he's ever undued is when he is resisting the flow. And so it's very instructive in that way. But if we were to start with like the jumping point of like Hinduism, it's just too reliant on like guru disciple relationship. It's just too much a part of the whole thing. And there was nothing really like that. I mean, you can't really call the dude like a teacher of Walter, even though they're kind of teachers for each other. But like, to start from Taoism and then go, somewhere else, I think you could go to like the sort of inborn capital S self that a lot of traditions talk about, and so that's what I can relate dude nature to. When you're in your dude nature, when you're feeling dude, that's when you're the most yourself. And so it's just about coming back to that repeatedly. It's the practice, and then the control of your energy, so you're able to come back to that when you choose to, which the dude knew how to do. A little bath with some whale sounds and a little roach, he would have been back to normal if not for some nihilist with a cricket bat and a marmot, So
good point. That's a good way to put it.
Well, and that's the thing, that's kind of the comedy of the universe, is just when we're getting our dude back, it throws another curveball at us. That's kind of life for a lot of people.
Well,
and
people
it's just
think
never.
A lot of people think that
stable.
the path is about sticking to the path, but like, you're gonna vary. It's about how you come back, how quick you return, how you make the return, how quick you realize you've strayed. Like the point of a path is to go back to it, because you're never born on the path. You got to find it in the first place, and you got to keep finding it again and again. So that's a pretty good way to put it. I like that.
Having a path sounds exhausting.
You have a path, bro.
I'm just wandering around.
That's
taking it all in.
That is, but you do it consciously. That's my point. Is like, if you're wandering unconsciously, you're not even showing up every week. Yeah. You're committed to your wandering. It's it's a great commitment.
It's a system of
absolutely
alarms.
Yeah.
I should say, like, I started off talking about a lot of the specific traditions and religions and stuff, but right now I'm very much more playing the role of like the mystic, like yeah, taking it all in. There's nothing off limits. It's every single thing that you can even conceive of has a teaching for you if you look for it. So you got to look freaking everywhere, and wandering is the best way to do that because you just take whatever's coming. That's the point, right? Play the hand
Exactly.
you're dealt.
So how has Dudeism directly? How has Dudeism affected, improved? How did that, like? I know that you explained that, like, you came across it, but how is
Yeah.
that since ordained? Like, is that something that you put a lot of thought into, or is it just kind of like, no, man, it makes sense. I'm a Dudeist. I'm not trying to judge your commitment level.
No. You're right. I don't really focus on that, on being a Dudeist or priest of it or minister or however you want to say it, that all that much. It was kind of like a formative first few months, and then it's like, yeah, I get this. It's kind of a bit of who I already am anyway. That's why it fits so good. Some
Yeah.
people really need on it because they're not that way, but I'm inherently go with the flow. So it was like, yeah, okay, I found a community of like-minded folks in that regard. It's kind of just kept in the back pocket for the most part. But one thing I might use it for is I might pull that card out, like if I'm getting into a heavy spiritual conversation with someone and they're like, well, you don't have any credentials, you're just an amateur at this. I'm like, well, fuck off, I'm ordained, man. Like, so I did view the ordination as somewhat novelty in that sense, but still in the way that going into it, even knowing that, I was like, but I'm still taking it seriously enough to put the power into it.
Yeah.
I'm citing it as an ordination, and to people who have had like more orthodox ordinations through more established structures, right? So I it's kind of like a ace up the sleeve, you might say, in that way.
You plan on doing any weddings?
Well, that was a bit of the motivation in the beginning at first, but it's hard in Canada. No one really recognizes it here. I think I've heard that some dudes in British Columbia have successfully done it on that way. But there's some loopholes around that too. So I haven't yet, but I would like the opportunity to apply it that way for sure. That'd be a lot of fun.
It's a fucking blasty, man.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure I will at some point.
I don't really have anything. What you got, Adam? I got some gas today. I can't even fucking think.
I thought Cal was gonna say something. My bad.
Cal's best De Niro.
He's just smoldering. Right now.
I'm trying to figure out that painting over your shoulder.
Oh,
it's elephants.
It's like elephants with like a cliff on one side and a tree on the other.
And then a river.
Yeah, I think.
See, my mind goes to it's like a frozen ice skate, but that's just Canadian, so.
Yeah.
No, they're in a river. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was the big fucking things from Star Wars, the Tic Tacs or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My vision's not so great though.
If y'all are gonna start talking Star Wars, I'm going on mute for a while.
Well, I do want to bring up that Caleb had said inherently, and Cal, you had said it as well, that it aligns perfectly with Taoism and sprinkles of Buddhism. Mm-hmm. But I want to point out that they also put out one for Star Wars.
Put out what?
Like a book, like the Dude to Chang. Yeah, they did the same thing with Star Wars. So I think the theory of everything, the deeper calling.
It's true.
Well, hasn't George Lucas said that the Force is based on a certain specific name for energy flow?
I don't know, man. I quit watching after the fucking original trilogy.
At least Dudeism is based on a good movie, so let's focus on that.
Hey, they had 3 good
Shots
movies, all right?
fired.
3 of them.
They had one passable movie.
They had
Empire
9 good
Empire
movies.
Strikes Back was the only passable movie.
No, if you don't watch all 3 of them in a row, then it doesn't even make sense.
Stop it.
No.
Oh man.
I'm entitled to my opinion.
Yeah.
Trekkie.
Just
Star Wars
your opinion,
Star Wars
man.
A New Hope is schlocky and Luke Skywalker is a whiny bitch. So
Well, that's true. I love it, but that's hard to argue.
That's hard to
Cal,
argue.
you need to watch Fanboys.
the fuck is that?
It's a movie about Star Wars fans, and I think that you would fucking love it, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one.
All right, there you go.
What's everyone else's next favorite Coen Brothers film?
Ooh.
Oh brother, where art thou? Is
Ooh, that's
mine.
a good.
I was gonna say it's really close between Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Burn After Reading.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that one yet either.
No.
Are you two fucking with me? That is such a good movie. My wife and I quote it all the time.
It's okay.
Like there's
I know
this
that
one,
name, but I didn't know that was
man.
them.
Yeah.
I don't know what all their movies are.
It's okay.
Oh man.
Oh Brother
Raising
Where Art
Arizona
Thou?
is good.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Oh
that's
Brother
a
Where
good
Art Thou was fucking excellent, but I think that it's a tie between Raising Arizona and Fargo.
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 I actually just watched
Wow.
Fargo again the other day. That's a great movie.
That's another one that I didn't watch till more recent years. Also, that's a good one. My choice is without a doubt No Country for Old Men. That's one of my all-time
Beautiful
favorite
movie.
stories.
That was
It's a good
so different. That's one of those movies that I loved it and I'd never watch it again. Like it was just too intense.
That's one of those ones that I watched and loved it and needed to watch the next day again. So that's neat.
That's good.
I
relate very much to Llewellyn. He's that kind of loner cowboy. That's kind of where I'm at. So I like that dude. It's also one thing I noticed about that movie, probably not till like the 4th or 5th time I watched it, was there's not a note of music in this whole film
soundtrack
except the mariachi band that wakes him up. That's the only music, even ambience. And once I realized that, I'm like, what a freaking choice for filmmakers to make. Like, that is insane. And it worked so well, I didn't even notice till now. Like, that's unreal.
That was one thing that drew me in as a failed musician. Before I'd even seen the movie, somebody was like, yeah, there's no music in it. Another spot is like when he's driving, you hear music coming from a car for like a split second.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, no soundtrack, and I was like, oh, there's no fucking way. Like this hour-long movie, and it's like fucking 2 hours long. Beautiful movie though.
I thought it was like almost 3.
It could be.
It's fucking forever.
That was one of those. Yeah.
But it's more natural because it's more real life. It puts you there more because when you're in a tense situation, there's not strings in the background, right? So that's what I think the motivation for it was, anyway.
Right. All right. Favorite non-Coen Brothers film of all
Smokey and the
time?
Bandit. I have argued at parties till I'm blue in the face that Smokey and the Bandit is the best film ever made because it encapsulates every genre. There's romance, there's science fiction, the physics are out of this world. There's there's action and adventure, there's mystery, there's like Smokey and the Bandit is the perfect Western culture film. Plus, I'm quite a romantic for old trucker culture too. That especially that golden age of trucking. So between and Burt Reynolds, oh man, that dude's the best. So
I'll trade you. I'll watch that. You got to watch Burn After Reading.
Oh, absolutely, I will.
Hold on.
What?
You've never seen Smokey and the fucking Bandit?
Whoa.
Are you kidding?
I'm not
never
even
had a
chance.
I never turned it down. I never said no. It's just we just
it's just you're dragging us for not having seen a movie that's like maybe 10, 15 years old. Smokey and the Bandit's older than I am.
It's older than Star Wars, for crying out.
That's what I mean. I've never been into old movies.
Well, you're talking Star Wars is an old movie, and you're talking it up like
Star Wars is
awesome.
one of the
bullshit.
greatest movies of all time. So
do not even start that. Do not even start that. Star Wars isn't even the best science fiction movie of the late 70s. That's Alien.
Oh,
Come
man,
on.
when you put it that way, though, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I'm going to say, I'm going to go ahead and throw mine out here before we get lost in the mix.
Yeah.
Either Where the Buffalo Roam, all right, with Bill Murray. If you haven't seen it, fucking watch it.
Oh, I will.
Or Donnie Darko.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Love Donnie Darko.
I love that movie, too. That'd be on my list.
A lot of people give it a lot of hate, but the sequel, S. Darko, amazing as well. Don't go into it like it's going to be Donnie Darko. It's not. It's its own fucking thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. Yeah, I love Donnie Darko. I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot, too. I like to follow actors, you know.
I know what you mean. Well, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I gotta say Forrest Gump, I think, might have to be my favorite. I just can watch it. I just can keep watching it. I don't care, Cal.
It's 3 hours long.
I don't care. I know, but it's just...
good one. I like that movie.
Yeah. Well, hey, agree to disagree. I don't know how you can watch professional wrestling. I mean, it's the
same thing. Different. It's an action movie, but it's live. It's the exact same thing.
Or read legal textbooks.
And it doesn't have Tom Hanks doing a shitty Southern accent playing a moron.
Playing a mental.
Yeah.
It's a great Southern accent, and he plays a perfect mental. Thank you.
Hold on.
Ugh.
Nick Cage's Southern accent in Con Air was terrible, and it was better than Tom Hanks' Southern accent in Forrest Gump. And I am from the South. I know how these people talk.
Hey, whoa.
Nobody sounds like Forrest Gump.
Whoa. You leave fucking Con Air out of it, all right? It was the movie for its time and place.
Con Air is one of my favorite movies of all time. So,
all right, we got a few minutes left here. Let's bring it back to Dudeism. Okay, so I'm going to ask this question for Skits, but this is a Skits originated question that I love. Caleb, if you think back to the whole movie, if you could put yourself in one of the scenes as a non-speaking part, what would it be? In any scene, you just be there.
Yeah, I don't want to go just first thought on this one. That's a good question. I want to really think about that.
I'm happy to give you some ideas.
I got two.
Okay.
The more prominent is to have just be sitting by yourself at the bar when the stranger shows up, because we don't see how that happens. We don't know if he's a real person. So just to see from an angle that wasn't a camera shot, that would be a good one. Plus, just, chilling at the bowling alley was a great. But also, Treehorn's beach party has to have been a good time if you weren't the dude. So, either of those, I'll go.
That guy with the long hair who's holding the part of the blanket and tossing the topless woman there, he looks so fucking happy.
Exactly. Like, that's a real party, not just to get fucked up, but to come together. Yeah, that's a community gathering for sure. Freaks of no doubt, but still.
I'm just saying, being the robe guy for Maud when he first meets her, that'd probably be an alright gig too.
Yeah.
Well, that was what first came to mind, was just in Maud's apartment. That was the first mental thought I had. But I'm like, well, there's better choices than that. But
the guy who hands Maud her robe. Oh man, there are worse answers. That's
a good question.
Yeah. Oh man. No, I think being at the bar, I think would be great. Or being at the bar when they're having the discussion about nihilists. Like, to hear Walter say, like, man, say what you will about the tenets of National Socialism, dude. And just be kind of sitting there like, makes a good point. Oh shit. But okay, so here's a question that I left unanswered in my book on purpose. Is nihilism better than Nazism? Is it better to believe in something than nothing? And why?
Those who believe in nothing who genuinely believe in nothing fall into the 4% of psychopaths, and an even larger percentage of sociopaths. So I guess it really just depends on how you like your murder. Do you like it in like big masses, or in like over time masses?
Oh shit.
Well, I think that, well, first of all, the nihilists in the movie aren't nihilistic at all, and Walter calls them on that, like they're not a representation of that actual belief, but that actual belief, like, there's a difference between nothing and no thing. So depends how you approach it, right? Like if you believe in nothing, then that's just your something. But if you take it deeper to like what that's really talking about no thing, like that can take you pretty far. There can be a lot of depth and truth to that. But that
That's a good
I
point.
think Skitz has a good point, because like you got to have a pretty established strong mind going into that to really make genuine sense of it. People who are just falling on it as something that's like, like the way people look at anarchy. A lot of people think they're anarchists just because they like punk music, and it's like you don't know what
Right.
you're out of your element here, man. So
Right.
so
Well,
I
no,
think
and I even asked someone who said they were an
yeah.
anarchist. I was like, so who takes out the trash? And he's like, well, community organizes and people just do it. Shut the fuck. No, they don't.
The human
Right.
race we are far too brutal for any kind of actual anarchy.
Yeah.
Our willingness to eat our neighbor as a species is just it's far too much. As like anti-government and everything that I am, at some point there has to be something. You know what I mean? There's always been a tribal chief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking A. Well, I mean, yeah, no, I think that you make a very good point, because like I think, well, okay, so here's what I think about is like, how is it carried out? Nihilism, that you believe in nothing, also means like you just don't have beliefs, but like your nature tells you to be kind to people and share with people, and all that. But it's like you don't believe that there's some God like wagging a finger at you saying you better do that. So like how is it carried out? And I think about like communism as an example, right? Like if you read Karl Marx, he's basically just talking about how capitalism is going to destroy itself and then what makes sense to do afterwards according to his mind, right? According to one guy's opinion, this is what I think should happen once capitalism destroys itself, like it's doing right now as we speak.
Yeah.
And what happened is people took that, dictators took that, and were like, no, we're going to call this communism, but really it's going to be a complete dictatorship with like full authoritarian, like butt fucking everyone. Like I learned about China in college, like I deeply studied China. And what really happened is there were so many levels of bureaucracy before it got to Chairman Mao, and everybody wanted to like inflate their numbers and make themselves look really good, that he was going off of ridiculously outsized information about what would happen. So when he said allocate this here and allocate this here, he didn't even know what he was doing. Like, yes, he was an evil guy to some extent, but like, anyway, it's entirely in how you execute these ideals. And so it's like, what is the nature of the people? Like they're, you see on the forums, there are even Dudeists that are not, seemingly decent people, but
you study history written by the winner, though.
Well, I mean, a couple of points. I mean, because I've read Marx, and both the Soviet Union and China were a fundamental misapplication of Marxist principles, because there's a lot of steps you have to go through to get to communism. They tried to jump from agrarian to communist. It doesn't work. The other point is I can't say that I agree with the idea that just because people don't believe in God makes them total nihilists.
No, I wasn't saying that. I would not make that point.
That was the way. That was my understanding. But,
okay,
my bad.
No. I was saying no. It's more like if you, and that's the other thing is like, how deeply do you believe in nothing? You know what I mean?
Okay,
like, do you need to?
Well, I mean, nihilism is the belief that nihilism is the belief that everything in life is absurd and lacks meaning. And that, I mean, to me, nihilism is tremendously bleak in that respect.
Awesome.
Yeah. You know, because I do believe that the things I do in my life, even if they just have meaning to me, they have meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
If you believe in nothing, you won't be calling yourself a nihilist. You'll be calling yourself anything.
Right.
I think I might be an accidental nihilist.
I mean,
Sounds like
Yuli's not really a nihilist. He's just a guy who likes to pass out drunk in a pool.
Yeah.
Shit,
Right.
I'd like to do that.
He's a hedonist, is what he really is.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to call themselves a hedonist.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
I've been rewatching Futurama, and I forgot a lot of it. But Hedonism Bot is such a great illustrative character in that way. So you're probably right.
Yeah. No, because you think about it, like, he's a porn star. He's trying to extort money from millionaires. He's a gang leader, convincing women to cut off their toes for $1 million schemes. Like, who the fuck is this guy?
A connoisseur of lingonberry pancakes.
Right. It's ridiculous.
I've always really loved. I learned this from the group early on in my Dudeism Facebook days. I saw this somewhere, and I was like, "That's the ticket." The theme of the film, if you need to give it one, is mistaken identity.
Yeah,
because the dude's not very dude, like I was saying for the time. The Big Lebowski's not actually rich and wealthy. It's all the foundation. Uli's not really a nihilist at all, right? Walter's not really, that's where it gets muddy about what we were saying before, because I have traditionally said Walter's not really a veteran, because I thought not, but perhaps I should reevaluate that part. But I've seen a theory about who Donnie's identity actually is from previous movies. I don't know if any of you have seen that one, but there's some pretty convincing lines there that, if it's true, then that brings Donnie into the whole mix about that as well. You know what I mean? Like the cops aren't doing anything to help him. They're not, everyone in the movie's not doing what they pretend to be, except Maud. Maud's no shit, but all the men anyway don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so that's what I say. I say if you need to give the movie a theme, you've already missed half the point, but there's nothing wrong with that, and it's mistaken. I like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the Western version of The Usual Suspects.
I haven't seen that either, so now I need to.
Yeah, it turns out the Big Lebowski is Kaiser Soze.
Oh yeah, okay, I know that about that.
But that's one of the things to me about the movie itself, was because I went and saw it in theaters the first week it came out, because I'm old as hell. But I went to see it because I had loved Fargo so much, and Fargo is very plot driven, very linear. And you go see the Big Lebowski, and it's kind of like, well, what the hell was the point of that? And what I
is there a
realized
musical
over
number
time,
happening right now?
yeah, there's 2 different musical numbers that just pop up. And what I kind of had to learn over time was that the beauty of the Big Lebowski is that there doesn't have to be a linear plot. It's just, it can be entertaining things that happen.
Yeah.
Because to whatever extent the Big Lebowski has a plot, it really doesn't. There was no kidnapping. There was no money.
Right.
Bunny's toe never got cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's Lebowski's
none of the plot matters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I got a question one thing I've always been unclear of in the film is that it seems to me like the dude believes that what happened as he was at and left Jackie Treehorn's place was an acid flashback. I don't know why else he would reference that. And that's the trippy sequence, dream musical number, right? So, like, is it safe to assume, do y'all think, that he doesn't even put together that he was drugged there and he thinks he just had, or it's hard to say with the dude, What do you think about that?
No, he says he was drugged.
I think he puts it together. The acid flashback references earlier in the movie. I think he puts together what happened.
Well,
Okay.
see,
The acid
we have
flashback
no idea
reference
what's.
is at the end.
Yeah, we
with
have
Mom.
no idea what's in that drink either.
Yeah, what drug it is? That's true.
You know what I mean? Couple good flecks of DMT into any kind of
Drink.
downer is yeah, you're gonna have some crazy dreams and wake up in the shittiest fucking jail I've ever seen. And I've gone to some shitty jails.
It wasn't Malibu for you?
Oh man.
Take me to Pike County.
You know,
Fucking A.
side tangent. To me, there's few things in the movie that are funnier than that moment where the dude goes over trying to be all stealthy and he does the etching with the pencil on the notepad to see what he wrote, and it's the drawing of the guy with the huge dick, and just Jeff Bridges sells it perfectly because
he really thought that like it was a good idea to do that, you know? Oh, I'm gonna get this information.
Sneaky, yeah.
But then it
Being
also makes you think, like,
What
so
the
in the
fuck?
middle of all this, Jackie Treehorn's over there just drawing a guy with a massive boner.
Well, does he know the dude was about to do that? That's what I thought. I
He
thought
must
was
have.
getting him that way. Now, here's something that just popped into my mind. Does that scene take place before or after the guy in the Beetle mistakes the dude as a private investigator?
Brother
Does that
Seamus.
influence him
It's
that
before
maybe I
that.
should be taking this more seriously and bring out some spy tricks? Or is it before that?
It's
I don't know.
before that.
Yeah.
The scene with John Polito with the brother Seamus, that's right before they go to the Big Lebowski's mansion for like the final confrontation.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true. But
Waiting for Walter to pick him up on Shabos.
right. Oh yeah, that's it. Walter. Okay, so he's a veteran. He's not actually Jewish. That's what the mistaken identity was. I forgot there, but that's right.
Yeah.
But I had something to say. Oh, what was it?
Gone
Yeah,
forever.
when I first saw it and have seen it since, I always took it that Treehorn expected the dude to do that and like did that intentionally so that that's what he would be left with. Maybe not. Maybe he's just that's what he doodles. That could be completely fair game too, but
Who knows?
I read it that way anyway.
I mean, this is a guy who is owed money by the big Jeffrey Lebowski's wife, and his big idea is to send two idiots over to piss on the carpet.
That's true. That's a good point. That is a solid.
Who knows what's going through this guy's head?
Yeah,
Right.
and
Maybe that's actually a calling card that we didn't get to see earlier in the movie. Normally, when he sends Wu and whatever the fuck his name is places to kick in doors, if they're not there, he just leaves a post-it note of a guy with a huge fucking dong.
Oh, that could be.
Treehorn's been here.
Could be. On his own stationery too.
Yeah,
that could be.
We didn't get to see it because the dude was home.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's so weird though.
Where the cops are at his house and the phone's just ringing. That's classic. That's a good one.
I love that scene too because he's got the ashtray and the bong like out on the table and
looking at this. Oh man! And then, well, I guess we can strike that one off the case or whatever.
Close the file on that one. And he's so
separate incidents.
The two cops, the one guy's trying to be chipper, and the one guy's like, "What the fuck are we doing here?" That's good director work right there.
I wouldn't hold out much hope for the briefcase or the credence.
Or the credence. Just that one
They're being honest. They're being honest.
Or the credence. Oh, like why did he need to say that? There's so many absurd lines in that movie that just didn't need to be said, but like, oh my god.
That's life, man.
Yeah.
That's life, man.
No, it really is.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Trust me, if the three of us ever get together and do this in person, we're going to be, I mean, it's going to be off the wall stuff that gets said.
Done for.
That's just how it happens.
That'll be great. Let's make that happen.
Do they have an In and Out in Nevada City?
Yeah, man. There actually is one in Auburn, which is if you're coming from anywhere, you're going to pass it. So, yeah.
There
Let's
you
get some
go.
burgers,
You
beers,
know what?
a few laughs.
you could put together like a panel and submit it for like conferences if you could convince some crazy conferences or expos, that host talks and lectures and
Right.
panels and what's the other word for it? I don't know, but
Welcome to our
It's
Dude
true.
Talk.
No, like,
we could do
yeah.
that.
Thank you for coming
Hell,
to my dude talk.
There's probably some convention somewhere for comparative religion.
For sure.
That's what I'm saying.
And ours
yeah.
is the only one that admits that the film at the center is a work of fiction.
Yeah.
The
Right,
Christians
right.
don't acknowledge it's a work of fiction.
We could
Yep.
put something together around that for sure.
There's no reason why not. I mean, we just had on a guy last week who's putting together, 2 weeks ago, who's putting together like a Dudeist temple potentially, looking
Nice.
into like all the paperwork that you need to be an actual like religious
Oh, yeah.
entity with a structure
I
and
think I've seen
everything.
him on the group.
So
Where's he
Yeah.
at?
we're behind.
He's in Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, kind of central to kind of everything and far from everything, but I'd fly out there. I told him, like, you open a temple, man. I got to be there.
We will
But
come sooner or later.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we got to cut it here. Otherwise, I got to do some editing in the middle, which is annoying. Then I got to like
Why
judge
is there a-
parts about
Oh.
how interesting. But yeah, we're at like an hour. So yeah, closing thoughts. What do you think, Caleb?
Yeah,
Cal?
sorry, real quick. I've mentioned before that when I kind of need to chill and kind of find my dude and my center, I've mentioned before how helpful the music of Jimmy Buffett has been. So I did just want to take a second to say R.I.P. to Jimmy
Yeah.
Buffett. Thank you for all the good music that has helped me like chill over the years.
Super dude.
Totally.
Dude.
Absolutely. And since we're shouting out recently departed, I also got to say, Bob Barker, you made the weekday mornings that I was sick amazing and fun. And you made me more dude when I'm feeling undude at home with a cold.
That's a
And
good
it's
one.
nice to know he has
Barker.
a legacy behind all those besides all those dogs that got their nuts cut off.
Hey,
Hey, man,
I'm
there are
from
too
the
many
reality where he died a handful of years ago, and I completely remember
Okay.
that. And I got smashed into this one. And also,
There's no way.
again, yeah, it happened. I remember it happening.
No,
and,
you remember a hoax that you believed because you don't fact check.
No, okay.
Come
Okay.
on.
We can go into reality and timeline stuff either over limit or next time because we can get deep into that if you want.
No, we'll have to do it next time.
Can we do part 2, Caleb? Please, will you come back where we? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it, and let's start with multiple timelines and Bob Barker.
Make a note, and for
I'm
sure,
open. I'm open to the idea, genuinely.
But I got to throw out R.I.P. to the lead singer of Smash Mouth for bringing us such hits as All Star. He recently passed in just a few days ago. I forget his name.
Okay.
Forgive me. I think it's
Steve
Chad
Harwell.
Steve Harwell.
Steve. Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you for knowing. But R.I.P. to Steve because that's
man.
I had mentioned at the beginning that John Goodman's like ingrained into our culture, but so is All Star by now. So
That's true. It's true. I actually saw that concert live.
No way. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to say R.I.P. to this episode, and we'll see you guys here in a couple weeks.
There you go.
Cool.
Take her easy, dudes.